side.
You kind of mentioned it there earlier, but just the atmosphere, like the playoff vibe, kind of like you mentioned.
Is paramount. I think it, it's already difficult playing against really good teams. We can't make it easier for them by getting caught up in the emotional part of it, and again, that's we got to take that from this game, because again, they're these games. I mean, they're just throwing throw-ins into the box. There's going to be contact. There's going to be these moments where we've got to be ahead of it, and we've got to be prepared to understand that these games are going to be more physical. These last two games, and then obviously heading into the playoffs, and I think the team that keeps their cool and can overcome that emotional charge that these games have will find themselves in a better position.
So, Pablo, this is the fifth game where we've seen a different front four. Is there a strategy behind this, or are we still looking for that formula that works?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Again, we are, and that's what's so tough with getting a lot of guys that come in with 7 games left or 8 games left, is that, we see them, we scout them, but then they come to our group and they have different skill sets, given the way we play, because the way we play isn't necessarily how all the other players played in their respective clubs. And so it's not only about the individual, but it's also about the connections and the relationships. And I think it's really, really important that we have a definitive understanding of how we're going to go come playoff time. And that's what we've been doing, is just putting players in different positions. Obviously, they understand the way we want to play, but it's really now going the next layer. It's the relationships within those positions that either accentuate what we're trying to do or continuing to find the right position for these guys.
And then one consistency there has been over the past few games is Matt Crook starting at that 10 spot. Can you talk about what you've liked about how he's been playing over the past few games and his development?
Yeah, no, again, I think I go back to the San Jose game, and I go back to the Houston games, which were, I think, games where didn't reflect the mindset of our group. And, since then, I think Crooksy started every game. And what he brings is tremendous work rate defensively, which allows us to press the ball and get after the ball early in games. The other part he brings from an offensive perspective is ability to control the game with the ball. And I think his relationship with Dom has been a feature of what we've been able to do. Tonight he released him a couple times, and that is a partnership that looks like it's growing, obviously, with every game. So for me, Crooks is a staple on both sides of the ball, that has put us in this position where now, moving forward, like I said, games are going to be chippy. So it's not just like the attacking side of the ball, but you got to defend well as a group. And he really is a catalyst to both pressing out, but also neutralizing their deep holding midfielder.
Pablo, the few attacks you did have, it looked like the first 15 minutes of the second half is when the team was most dangerous, able to get the ball in between lines. But it looked like that got lost in the last half hour after the subs. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple plays where, again, you make subs, and oftentimes it's difficult for the guys to get up to speed of the game. And like I said, with the playoff feel, everything's contested. There's not easy turns. And there's a couple moments where, in order to build momentum, the player on the ball is responsible for the team, right? And so when you have the ball, you are either adding to the control or you're taking away from our control as a team with your individual decisions. And there was a couple plays where we're in the offensive third, and there's a couple guys that just lose the ball cheap. And now it becomes transitional, and now they get a throw-in. and now they get a ball into the box. And so it disrupts our ability to control the game in our attacking third, if that makes sense. And so, the onus is on the guys coming in to really think about keeping the ball moving, keeping possession of the ball so that we can continue to mount pressure. Because any little bad giveaway, it's like taking the air out of a balloon. It just starts to fizzle. And what we want is just to keep growing that balloon until it pops and the ball's in the back of the net. And so those are things, again, that we'll hit on. And something that we've talked about, the importance of being ball secure in that final third. And then there's a moment where you get 20 yards from goal, and that's where you want to express. Because now our lines have moved up to the point where if there is a loss of possession, we can repress. But if it's in that middle third and you're cheap with the ball, you got your back line who's still trying to be a support, you got your midfielders that are trying to be support, and you lose it underneath those two lines, and it just takes the wind out from our sails.
Chicho had 3 shots that looked like they were all in frame. Maybe the first one wasn't. The second one was at Dane St. Clair. The third one got pushed over the bar. Is he pressing a little bit? Do you like what he's doing tonight? And should he just keep doing that because it pays off eventually?
That's the only way. The only way to get out of a scoring slump is to keep shooting, and one of them are gonna go in. There was one in the first half where he played it to Dom. I thought he was going to shoot it from distance. Dom caught it back. So again, I think he's doing a really good job of, again, working defensively for the group, but also putting himself in positions to score a goal. And I think, Sinclair's save on him in the second half was a top save, and that could have easily been in the back of the net. So again, there's only one way to do it, and it's just keep working through it.
Diego Luna was dropping a little deeper when he came in. Is that something you needed given how Minnesota was playing, or would you have preferred him further up?
Yeah, so again, against the back five, and their center backs like to follow, the way the 10s find space is peeling off into the wide areas. And that's always a feel thing, because sometimes you can peel off 10 yards and receive the ball and then attack the back line. Sometimes you have to really get wide to get on the ball. So it's really giving the players the tools, the way to think about that, and then allow them to really think about and what that means in real time. So at halftime, Diogo and Crooksey peeled off really wide. And it is only important to peel off on the ball side, but on the weak side, we should be thinking our outside central defender should be engaging that space so that our 10 can stay in the pocket, so that we have numbers in and around Chicho so we can have combinations. So it's possessions are really, it's a kind of a fruitless stat where what are you doing with the possession? And so we had a lot of the ball, but we were just kind of creating an umbrella shape around their 3-2 attack defending shape.
Obviously, the guys have to recover tomorrow, and you got to travel Friday. There's not a lot of time to prep for San Jose. It's the last place team and an opportunity. So what is the message with the very little bit of time you're going to have to prepare?
Well, again, I think for me, it's always improving on the previous game. There's no secret. Like I don't know, going to every game, we want to win the game. And there's so many phases of the game that you have to be really good at to win it. Like I said, our box defending against Austin was terrible. Tonight it was really, really good. And so, so now we score those goals that we did against Austin or Portland, and you have really good box defending, then you win the game. So for me, it's always about process. It's always about getting one game better, and identifying the areas that you need to continue in to continue to get better in. So that's it. And then it just becomes a question of legs, right? Fatigue and a 3-game week. And so that'll be something that we'll check how the guys recover, but there'll probably be a few changes from today's starting group, especially with Vera's expulsion.
Hey, Pablo. After the red card, did you kind of make a concerted effort to pull back a little bit? Didn't look like you were quite going for the win at that point.
Again, I think in this game, given the way the game was feeling, we wanted to play forward more, right? And so you have Ando on the right side and Chicho up ahead, and again, you're going to be down numbers, and we ended up playing back to our goalkeeper a lot. So again, I'm thinking in these great learning moment is if Alex is in receiving the ball in the wide channel, and we have Ando and Chicho up front, we got to be looking for these guys. So it's like it's not that. We're just the way we try to control games with the ball requires 11 players, and so it's not. It was just a tweak that that again, we're going to a 4-4-1 where we don't have another attacker. So again, I think it's more about with the ball, what are we trying to do? And we want to put pressure on their center backs. We don't just want to go back to Zach and have him leather a ball back. So again, things that we'll continue to address just in case this stuff happens in the future.
And then any concern or worries on your side about discipline amongst the team, and it was a little heated out there. And
no, I think it's football. It happens all over the world. Players get upset, and I think that's what and I think for the most part this year, I don't know how many red cards we've had. There's not been an emotional two red cards this year. So you're 34 games, 2 red cards. That's not a bad clip. That's a pretty disciplined group. But again, tempers are going to start to flare. Emotions are tight. The games are tighter. Every decision it has to be calculated, and it has to be from a place of understanding that your opponents are going to try to provoke you, and you've just got to be above the fray.
Pablo, hablando de disciplina, Philip Quinton tuvo un excelente partido, en mi opinión, por lo menos. ¿Puedes hablar de su crecimiento en esta posición de lateral derecho, que normalmente él juega de central?
Sí.
Talking about discipline, Philip Quinton had a great game today. How do you think about his development from usually playing center back to now playing an outside back position?
No, yo creo que el Philip es un muy buen profesional. Yo creo que cuando estamos entrenando siempre llega temprano, siempre está cuidando el cuerpo, siempre hace preguntas tácticas que a lo mejor no entiende, y en cada partido es un jugador que toma mucha responsabilidad para el trabajo de él, pero también para entender las posiciones de los compañeros, así puede comunicar. Y para mí es uno de los mejores jugadores de ese tema, de la comunicación, y es un jugador que quiere la responsabilidad. Y yo creo que esta noche fue fundamental para el equipo y va creciendo como si ya tiene mucha experiencia y solamente ha jugado en este nivel, el más partidos que ha jugado en su carrera profesional es con nosotros. Y así está agarrando un buen nivel y va a ser un jugador clave para nosotros llegando a los playoffs.
That he's a really good professional, that he's always one of the first ones to practice, is always asking questions with tactics if something he doesn't understand. But he's also made a great effort of communicating with his teammates, understanding the positions of his teammates, and that he's one of the best communicators on the team, and that he's keep growing, and that he obviously has had the most games here during his professional career than he has before. So he's just going to keep growing and learning, and he's going to be a fundamental part of this team.
Y hablando de la tarjeta roja de Brian Vera, ese año y el año pasado también recibió expulsiones por acciones un poco raras y irracionales, por decir. Puedes comentar de él y bueno, obviamente tiene pasión, pero sus decisiones y momentos que son calientes.
Can you comment on Brian Vera's kind of impulsive decisions that have gotten him a red card this season and last season, and his maybe temper?
Sí, no, lo dijiste muy bien. Para mí, el Vera es un jugador que juega con mucha emoción, mucha pasión, y siempre hay una línea que si está jugando, si llega a esa línea, es un jugador de primer nivel. Cuando se pasa, es como todos los jugadores en el fútbol que pierden la cabeza, y hace daño a él, pero hace daño al grupo también, porque es un jugador clave para nuestro grupo. Así, estos son momentos, y me pasó a mí también como jugador, tuve que aprender cómo mantener cómo mantener las emociones en momentos difíciles. Y eso para él va a ser el desafío más grande, porque con el balón, sin el balón, cuando estamos hablando de la técnica de defender, la técnica de jugar un pase, eso lo tiene. Pero ahora el próximo paso es que entiende cómo controlar las emociones en momentos calientes, en momentos como vamos a conseguir en los playoffs.
So Brian plays with a lot of emotion and passion, and there's like a threshold of when he does that, he's a top-class player, but when he kind of passes it, he just becomes like any other soccer player that loses his head. So the biggest challenge for Brian is going to be able to learn to control his emotions in high-heated moments and games that it's tight. So that's going to be the biggest challenge for Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations on the clean sheet tonight. Maybe you could start with just kind of taking us through what this match was like. Obviously, no goals, some contention toward the end. What was the vibe out there, in your opinion?
Yeah, I thought we played pretty well in the first half. Kind of a much different game than earlier in the year against them, where I think they kind of were happy to be in a low block and look for that counter. And, really any game that's just tough to break down, and you're only going to get a couple chances, and I think we did. And their goalkeeper made at least one very good save. And, those are small margins in these games. But overall, I think everyone's very pleased to not really give any big chances like we have the last few games and keep the shutout tonight.
And then I was wondering if you could kind of maybe talk about what the last few weeks or months have been like for you, as you and Gavin have once again kind of traded starts. He got a couple, now you've gotten a couple in a row. I guess, what's your mindset been, I guess, through some of these changes?
Yeah, it hasn't been ideal, I think, for either of us. But I was always ready. I'm going to stay ready. And if Pablo calls my name, I'm ready to help the team in any way possible. So.
He's like, congrats on the clean sheet tonight. And what were you seeing back there? A lot of physicality, it seemed like, throughout the game. Was that evident from where you were?
Yeah, I think some early tackles. I thought the referee actually did well. Some early yellow cards. It was a lot more slippery than I think most games, and I think that has to do with maybe the weather changing a little bit here. And it took a while, I think, for both teams to kind of get used to that. But that was kind of what playoff soccer can look like in MLS, and that's a great learning experience for all our guys, and hopefully we continue to play that well defensively going forward.
Towards the end, you kind of seemed like the voice of reason, keeping people away from each other a little bit. The other team seemed pretty hot as well. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I got fined earlier this year defending one of our players, so I didn't really want to do that again. Emotions and tensions are high, and just trying to keep guys cool and calm because, there's 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, and just wanted to keep everyone's heads on straight.
Yeah, you were really sure-footed out there, it seemed, tonight. Better cleats or just better mindset?
It felt good out there. Like I said, it was a slippery field, and I think it took a little while for guys to get used to, but overall very good.
Zach, what have you seen the past couple of games where you've been involved against Austin, and today, where today you're able to get the clean sheet, but you weren't able to keep that over the past couple of games?
I think, and really the last four games or so, I think the team has played pretty well, and the goals that we gave up against Dallas, Portland, Austin were just moments of forgetfulness, of definitely not laziness, just a little bit of turning your mind off for a second. And, late in games that can happen with, whether it's guys that are tired or guys that aren't, fully into the game yet. And we made a big emphasis, obviously, over the last 2 days of, trying to, the last 10, 15 minutes, that's where we try to ramp up our motivation and our kind of being into the game and whatnot. So I thought that was really good tonight, and even going down a man in the last few minutes, the way we ended that game was great.
And then knowing that Vera is going to be out for the next game and maybe a couple more after that, what's the mindset in the defensive line getting ready for these last 2 games of the season and the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we'll adjust well. Whoever steps in for him. A lot of guys on the back line have got a lot of experience this year, so whoever fits in will do a great job, and I'm there to help them be ready for it.
Minnesota's kind of fighting for their playoff lives in a lot of ways right now, and Paulo mentioned something that game out there felt a little bit like a playoff mentality in some ways. Did you feel that way, and can that maybe kind of give you guys some dividends down the stretch of sort of knowing how that feels, I guess?
Yeah, I think especially hopefully hosting a playoff game here at home, I think you might see teams do that against us where we have a lot of the ball but not a lot of chances in offensive third, and they seemed happy to get out of here with a point and really just rely on the counter. And fair play to them, they did a decent job at it. And like I said, we still had plenty of opportunities to win this game and just came up short.
Thank you, Zach.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.